Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. We are sat here today at OR Tambo International Airport, and we're making ready for our first flight, or rather first leg of the Uniquely Africa journey or series for the channel. I have decided on a name, finally, Uniquely Africa Tour. So today we will be flying this lovely 737-800 from Fly Safair with a lovely livery from them. This is actually the old livery. The recent, I think it's last year, I think. They announced a new livery, looks beautiful. I'll maybe put up a picture of the new liveries that they have, which is absolutely fantastic. I love the new liveries. So today we'll be flying from OR Tambo International Airport to Cape Town in South Africa on Safair Flight 292. That's the flight we'll be simulating today. And before we get a move on the flight itself and getting the aircraft prepped and ready for departure, I'd like to discuss, or rather just discuss how these episodes are going to work, as this episode specifically is going to work a little bit differently from the future ones, episode 2 and on. So how it's going to work is, or what I thought of doing, is having like a little history segment. What these history segments are going to be called, I have no idea yet. I've been thinking about that for the last 2 weeks, and my very uncreative brain has once again done nothing. So I don't know what I'm going to call these short segments, or I don't know yet what I'm going to call these segments, but hopefully you guys can help me out a little bit. So if you guys have any ideas for it, you can put it down in the comments down below. I'll surely be reading some of them, or most of them, as far as possible. So yeah, for now, the aircraft is cold and dark. As you can see when I switch over to the cockpit, the aircraft is cold and dark. So I'm going to hand you over to history segment Dylan right now, to give you a little bit of a history about this airport and the area, as well as the next airport, although the next airport segment will be a little bit later on in the video. For now, we'll only focus on this airport. Now this is where it's going to differ from this video, or this video is going to differ from the other videos. As this is the first leg and we're starting in South Africa, I'm going to have two segments, one for the departure airport as well as one for the arrival airport. Now, in future videos, there should only be one. So the plan is to do it in sequence. So we will start from Johannesburg today, end up in Cape Town, and then the next episode will start in Cape Town, and then we'll go on from there to either another country in South Africa. Listen to me now. Either another airport in South Africa or another airport in another country surrounding South Africa, and then we'll work our way up in Africa as the series progresses. So that's how it's going to work, and that's the format that I am testing out for the time being. So without further ado, I'm going to send you over to History Dylan, or History Segment Dylan, or whatever we will be calling it in the future. And in the meantime, I'm going to start setting up the aircraft, doing the pre-flight procedures and the pre-flight checks, and then when you guys return, we'll start setting up the aircraft for the departure and the flight itself. So I'll see you guys in a short while. And welcome guys and gals to today's history segment for OR Tambo International Airport. The airport was built in 1952, making the airport 72 years old as of 2024. The airport was built in the Kempton Park area of Gauteng, South Africa, for a cost of £6.2 million. Adjusted for inflation to today's time, it's about £202.1 million. Talk about the times, eh? The airport was named after the second president of South Africa, Jan Smuts, thus receiving the ICAO designation of Foxtrot Alpha Juliet Sierra. The airport became operational on the 1st of September 1953, marking the beginning of a fruitful career for this airport. As time went on, the airport has changed significantly over the years to accommodate new technologies, aircraft and passenger demands. On the 27th of October 2006, the airport's name was officially changed from Jan Smuts International to OR Tambo International, after Oliver Reginald Kaizana Tambo, an anti-apartheid politician and activist. He also served as the president of the ANC, the African National Congress, from 1967 to 1991. Thus, on the 10th of January 2013, big gap, it received its new ICAO designation, Foxtrot Alpha Oscar Romeo. Today, OR Tambo is the second busiest airport in Africa, handling up to 21 million passengers annually, according to a 2017 census, with a max capacity of 28 million passengers annually. The airport has 6 terminals and 2 runways, 03 left, 21 right, and 03 right, 21 left, with runway lengths of 4,421 meters and 3,405 meters respectively. Situated 5,500 feet above mean sea level, making it one of the highest airports in South Africa. This will be important for later. The airport serves as a hub for 5 airlines: Airlink, Kemair, FlySafair, Lift, and South African Airways, the flag carrier of the country. The airport has had many notable events throughout its lifetime, but I've picked 2, which would be more notable in my opinion. The airport served as a test airport for the Concorde during its test flights around the world. The airport was specifically chosen to test engine and aircraft performance in hot and high conditions, due to the high altitude of the airport, as well as the hot climate of the area. These tests took place in the 1970s, and the aircraft performed beautifully. The Concorde would also perform similar hot and high tests in the Middle East. OR Tambo also became the first airport to receive an A380 in Africa. On the 26th of November 2006, during a test flight to Sydney, Australia via the South Pole, making a fuel stop in South Africa. And that concludes the history segment for OR Tambo International Airport. Let's get back to the video, guys. And welcome back to the flight deck. As you can see, I've already started setting up the aircraft, done the pre-flight procedure, aligned the IRSs to the airport we are at now, which is Foxtrot Alpha Oscar Romeo, or OR Tambo, which you just learned in the history segment, how it got that. So now we can start setting up the aircraft for the departure. I'll do a departure briefing a little bit later on, after we're done setting up the aircraft and we are getting ready to depart. I'll do a short departure briefing so you all can see what's happening and what the plan is for today. So let's start with the route. Just need to get up my info here. There we go. Now I had a look at the NOTAMs for this airport at the moment, and basically all the standard instrument departures are suspended. But we're going to ignore that for today, and we will be flying the Ragul 3 Bravo departure. But if I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, let's start with the route. So we're going from Foxtrot Alpha Oscar Romeo to Cape Town, which is Foxtrot Alpha Charlie Tango, and we will be using runway 21 right for today. As we can see, I requested the weather for Johannesburg today. We have wind 220 at 11 knots, and the rest of the weather is actually fine with a QNH of 1024. It's a beautiful day in Johannesburg to fly. Can't see it very nicely with this little bit of sky we have here, but let's go to the outside view. You guys can see it's a pretty beautiful day for flying in Johannesburg at the moment. So let's get on with it. So we've selected the origin, we selected the destination, we selected the runway. We just need to put in our flight number, which is SAF Air Flight 292. If I'm not mistaken, yes, that is correct. So now we go to the departures page, departures and arrival page. We selected 21 right, just select that again and it will give us the departures for that runway, which is the Ragul 3 Bravo. It's not that side. Next page, Ragul 3 Bravo, there it is. Insert that, go to the route, and now we input the rest of the waypoints and airways. UQ10 2 Charlie Sierra Victor, and then it's Uniform Zulu 26 to Ardas. Now I'm gonna wait to put in the arrival. We will put in the arrival when we are approaching our top of descent, but I also had a look at Cape Town's NOTAMs, which all the stars are suspended at the moment, which we will again ignore for today. We are in the sim, so it doesn't really matter, so we will be ignoring the NOTAMs for today. The weather is a little bit groggy in Cape Town at the moment with broken. Actually, let's check. Let's see. My information is a bit old, so let's see. Just for interest's sake, what is the weather like at Cape Town at the moment? And let's send that. We'll just wait for the message. But yeah, we'll wait to put in the arrival when we until we're a little bit closer to top of descent, and then we'll input that into the FMC for the arrival. So, we have a variable wind of 3 knots, which is not too bad. Light drizzling rain, and an overcast at 900 feet, scattered at 400 feet ish. Okay, so the weather is a little bit crap there at the moment. We'll see when we get there how it looks. So too bad. That's quite a shame actually, because Cape Town is one of my favorite approaches. It has lovely scenery, but you guys will still be able to enjoy the lovely scenery and what Cape Town has to offer within the history segment that will cover the airport a little bit later on. So we've set up the route for now, and let's activate that, execute, and then we go to the perf page. So for this we're going to need our flight plan here, so you guys can see what I am doing. Just need to see where the charts are. Oh, there's it. There's the one. Oh no. Okay, so for some reason it's unlegible today. This is actually the first time this has happened. Let's try the next page. No. It's so faint, so I don't know if you guys can see that, but I can't really see what's on the chart unless I zoom in like all the way. Yeah, sorry guys, I came down with a little bit of a cold during the last week, so my voice and everything is screwed up a little bit. Anyway, let's try to get some of the info off here, at least. Just want to see, I already loaded the aircraft for the flight, so let's just go over the weights quickly. We have a payload of 16.5 tons for today's flight, giving us a zero fuel weight of 59.6 tons. And then we have fuel. Our fuel for the flight will be 10.1 tons. That's the block fuel, and all of the fuel that we'll be taking on this flight. We will discuss the fuel a little bit later on, but we will discuss some of the fuel now. So let's start. I see I haven't loaded the fuel actually, so let's call the fuel truck quickly. Payload, I set it in there, so let's just call the fuel truck. Thank you, sir. So while the fuel is loading, let's get the performance stuff. The perform init ref page finished. So our cruising altitude for today is 300. Now I like setting the cruising altitude and checking that I set it in the I can't remember what we call this panel. The pressurization panel. There it is. There it is. Finally, my brain worked. So I make sure that it's set there 300 for our cruising flight level, and it is set. And then we just put in our the gross weights wrong at the moment, but we'll just change that when we are done, when the fueling is done. So for the reserves, let's see if we can see it on this chart. We have a block fuel of 10.1, and we have a final reserves and alternate 3.8. So we'll put that into the reserve box here, 3.8. We have a cost index of 42, which is actually a bit high for this airline. This is a low-cost airline like any other, so it usually doesn't have this high. I think the highest cost indexes I've seen with Safair, or Fly Safair is the full name, is about no higher than 30 actually, but this will do for our simulated flight today. The cruise winds we get here, the average winds are 280 at 73 knots. 280 at 73 knots. So we put that there, and then we go all the way down. Hopefully I can still see that page for the winds, so for the temperature. So we'll be climbing up to 300. At the top of climb we get a temperature of minus 34. So let's input that, minus 34, and voila, that's in the FMC. So we just need to wait now for the fuel to be loaded on to the aircraft, and then we can sort out this bit here. Okay, but this is actually a great opportunity to go through the departure. So we are sat here. I think if I put the plane on, you can no. Oh, there it is. We are here on the airport, on the Charlie apron. We are sat at gate Charlie 5, which we can't see the number of now, but we are at gate Charlie 5, I promise. So we will be taxiing down Lima, and then turning left onto Alpha, all the way down to holding point Quebec for runway 21 right. So let's input the runway heading, which is 214. 214. 214. Come on. 214. There it is. So that's the taxi covered. Let's check the departure. So we'll be flying, like we said, the Ragul 3 Bravo departure. So this departure has an initial climb, I think, yes, climb to 8,000, further climb under radar control. Now we aren't on any network today, so not on VATSIM or IVO or something like that. We're also not using any ATC software. So we were just flying ourselves to Cape Town today. So I'm going to put it in there, but we are probably just going to ignore it as soon as I turn on the autopilot. We're just going to set it up and cancel all the restrictions and go to flight level 300. So, but let's go through the departure itself. So 3 Bravo, Ragul 3 Bravo for runway 21 left and right, yes. So climb on runway track to distance 9 Juliet Sierra Victor, then we turn right to 291, and then 291 track to intercept the Juliet Sierra Victor radial 262 to Ragul, and then as per flight plan. So here's a visualization of that. We're going to fly runway heading until we reach distance 9.0 Juliet Sierra Victor, which is the Johannesburg VOR right there. Actually, let's put that in. I like to what was it again? I like to keep in the main VOR for an airport in the FMC box during the departure, just to act as a like a type of homing beacon for in case I need to return to the airport. And it also gives me, I also align it to the runway heading so that I have a reference of the runway in the air. And I'm going to set both boxes to that now. Let's get it 214. 214, and let's set that nav box on that side, on the first officer side as well. And that is set for now. So this is how the departure looks. We'll be flying runway track to distance 9 Juliet Sierra Victor, then we turn right onto a heading, or I'm lying, track 291 to intercept the 262 radial of the JSV VOR, and then we just head inbound to Ragul of a distance 40 DME from the VOR. So what I also like to do as an extra backup is just leave that page for now. I'm gonna insert the departure like a hard backup. It's just good practice to have this stuff as a backup for in case your FMC, LNAV or VNAV or something fails, that you have a guide on how to fly it. So we set up a ring 9 DME, I think, yeah, 9.0, that is correct. So we set that the point at which we will start turning, and then we input the radial as well as the distance to the, our first waypoint, or the end waypoint for this departure, which is Ragul. So we set in 262 at a distance of 40. Yes, distance 40, and we input it like so. Then you can see we have a more or less visual aid to how the departure looks, and then we'll be able to fly it as well, hopefully, if all goes to plan. But hopefully it won't fail. So, but we have a backup now. Now we can go back to the init ref page where we are still waiting for the fuel to be loaded on. Shouldn't take too long anymore. But anyway, that's the departure discussed. And then after Ragul, we just head on to our first waypoint, which we already set in when we did the route, which is Uteba. So that's good. We are almost ready for departure. I just want to confirm the QNH for this airport at the moment, whether your QNH is 1024. So it has changed a little bit over the time I've sat here. I think let's just want to correspond the information from Navigraph with the information actually in Sim, that they do align with each other. Yes, and I do. So we have a QNH set to 1024, and the wind has changed with 10 degrees since the last time we checked, but still shouldn't be a problem. We'll check the performance stuff right after we are done with this page. We'll do the performance for the aircraft. There's actually one thing I didn't test during the pre-flight, so we'll test it somewhere now.
Adjust vertical speed. Adjust. Climb. Climb now. Climb. Climb now. Climb. Crossing. Climb. Climb. Crossing. Climb. 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 Clear of conflict. Descend. 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 Crossing. Descend. Descend. Crossing. Descend. Descend. Descend now. Descend. Descend now. Increase climb. Increase climb. Increase descent. Increase descent. Maintain vertical speed.
All loaded up and you are good to go.
Maintain vertical speed. Crossing. Maintain. Monitor vertical speed. TCAS test. Pass.
Okay, so the TK system test is successful, which is good, although we won't be needing it. We're not flying online like I already said, so it's just fancy bells and whistles at the moment. So as you also heard during that test, that the fuel is loaded on. So we have fuel 10.1. We put that into the FMC, giving us a gross weight of 69.7. So we just cross-reference that with our information on the flight plan, and yes, we get a takeoff weight of 69.5, and we have 69.7, which is 200 kilograms off for the taxi. So that is great. So now we can go on to the N1 limit page, where we will set up our performance for the departure. And I need to get my performance tool up and running here, which I need to recheck because all of the weather has changed in between. So I'm just going to set in the new info that we've gathered now. Optimum, yes. Anti-ice will be off. The wind at the moment we said was 230 at 13. The outside air temperature is 21 degrees with a QNH of 1024. No, not 1023, 24. And the conditions are dry. So let's calculate that. Okay, cool. So with a takeoff weight of 69,500, we have and a flap setting of 5. We have a V1 of 158, 163, and 168 for V2. Assumed temperature 29 degrees Celsius. So we'll set that in. We'll set our assumed temperature 29 degrees in the selected temperature. We use that. Takeoff setting 26K, yes. And that's the N1 limit page basically done. We go to the takeoff page. We are using flaps 5 today, and we'll just use the cheat button, give with our CG. So we have a center of gravity of 26.7, and we can check if that is correct with the payload and fuel manager of the ZiboMod. If I can just remember, here it is, 26.7, and that is correct. So here it gives us, if we go put the winds and stuff in here, it might give us a little bit more accurate V-speeds. And okay, so it gives us a V-speeds here of 143, 146, and 149. Now I'm gonna rather use my tools V-speeds. So for V1 we have 158. For rotate we have 163. And for V2 we have 168. I think actually this is too fast. I haven't had that many times with that high speeds. So I think we'll leave it like that for now. We'll leave it like that. It will work still. Let's put the auto brake to reject takeoff. I just want to set up a few other things here that I might have forgotten. Oh, the fuel is loaded on, so we can put the seatbelt signs on. And I forgot to start the leg. So we can do that. So let's set up all the rest of the aircraft. So we put in our V2 speed of 168 here, and that's good. We can put on the flight directives, and we leave it on that page. Just checking if everything is in the right position, and it seems to be, everything seems to be in order. So now we are a bit late. We were supposed to depart, I think 7:45 if I remember correctly. So we are a bit late, but that's not a problem. Just go over to the taxi checklist. And a little cough coming up. Sorry, excuse me. Yes, I hate being sick, man. It's irritating. Let's see what's next up. I think I already did the pre-flight checklist, but I think let's do it again and just make sure that everything is set as it should be. So fuel shuttle valves are checked, oxygen tested 100%, navigation transfer and display switches are all in normal and auto, and that is so. Window heats are on, pressurization mode selector is in the auto position, flight instruments are checked. We have altitude 5580 on that side, 5580 on that side. I can't see. Yes, we do. Times are also corresponding, and the heading 025 also corresponds. So flight instruments are checked, parking brake is set, and the engine start levers are in cutoff, as it should be. So that's it, pre-flight checklist complete. So now we only have to finish the setup for the departure, and then we should be ready to go. Start setting up the aircraft for, let's just take away the cleaning van, take away the back stairs, and we take away the catering, and we leave that there. It's a very simple ground handling software that I got, plugin that I got for Explain on the explain.org website. It's a free add-on. It's not the best. It's only static displays, doesn't really do much. There is a option for loading and deloading passengers, boarding and deboarding, sorry, which today you won't be able to see actually because of the jetway. But when we get in Cape Town, I think I'm going to use a remote stand, so then we will be able to see some of the people walking around or deboarding the plane. But it's freeware, so you can't expect too much from it. The people look like they come straight out of Minecraft. So we are carrying some Minecraft passengers today. Just want to see something. Yeah, okay. And what was I about to do? Oh, I was about to close some doors. So the cargo doors we can close now. The aft service and the aft entry we can close now. It's only the forward entry left. We'll just check that their lights go out on the door panel, the doors panel. And yes, they're all out now. Closed. Sorry. Go over to the legs page there. Just want to go to the route page because I see it has done some stuff, and that is still right. So we just execute, take off, and that is correct and brilliant. We are basically set up for departure. So I'm going to close the main door, and I have absolutely no idea how to remove the jetway. It does it automatically, so I have no idea how that works. So we're just gonna see what happens. If you guys know how to remove the jetway manually, you can let me know in the comments below, please. Okay, so thank you, madam. So the cabin crew and the cabin is ready for the departure. So before we get a move on, let's start with the before start procedure, which is all the pumps on. Let's just check how much fuel we have in the center tank. We have over 2 tons, more than 800 kilograms. So we'll put the center tanks on as well, and we'll see what we forgot here. And that stays the same. We're going to remove we'll put off the alpha hydraulic system just to for the pushback. Speaking about pushback, I need to set up the better pushback as well now. I think that's the setup done, and let's just pre-plan the pushback, and then I want to face that way. Yeah, like that should be fine. Accept.
Plan acknowledged. Call me through the menu when you are ready.
Thanks, we will do so. I just want to quickly finish setting up my plane, man. So I'm going to set that over to there. We're going to start the APU. 1, 2, 3, and that's done. Low oil pressure lights on. Come on. And there it's spooling up. So we'll give that a second to settle, and then we'll switch over to the APU and disconnect the ground power and disconnect everything on the ground. Just make sure we have disconnect everything here. Let's remove the people before we start running people over today. And we just make sure. And we'll disconnect these things, the chocks and the GPU and the air supply unit. We'll just disconnect as soon as we are ready for departure. So as soon as the APU is running and I've swapped over to the APU and we've disconnected all the ground equipment, we can do the sorry, not the pre-flight, we already did that one, the before start checklist. So before we remove the chocks, let's do the before start checklist. So before start checklist, fuel. We have 10.1 tons loaded and equal and balanced on both sides. Yes, that is correct. Passenger signs are set. Windows are closed and locked. MCP is 168, which is the V2. Runway heading 214 and our initial climb altitude of 8,000, which we will be promptly ignoring after departure. The takeoff speeds we discussed earlier is V1 is 158, rotate 163, and V2 168. CDU pre-flight is completed, and the taxi and takeoff briefing is also completed, except for the performance, which I think we should do quickly. So that's the before start checklist to the line complete. So let's just quickly speak or talk about the performance. So I think you guys saw what I was doing with the performance stuff, but anyway, let me just explain what I was doing. So we have a departure weight of 69.5, just needed to remind myself quickly. So we have a departure weight of 69.5, we will be taking off from runway 21 right, and we selected flaps 5 for our departure, and let's go to the index so you guys can see performance. We go to the N1 limit page. We selected an outside air temperature of 29 degrees, which will derate the engines so we can preserve the lifetime of these engines. And yes, I have set the ZiboMod to service-based failures, so the more we use the aircraft and the more we abuse it, the better it will give us crap in the future. So it is important that we use our derates and to preserve the engine lifetime. So with this performance takeoff data, we should have ample performance for this runway. It's a pretty long runway. The runway is, if we check here on the charts for this runway, which we will be taking off from that side, but here's the runway dimensions: 4,436 meters. Very long runway. I think we shouldn't have a problem at all. So that's it. There's the very late performance briefing for you guys, and with that said and done, we can do the before start checklist below the line. The flight deck door is closed and locked, sorry, and the anti-collision light is on. So with that done, let's call for pushback. Dylan, it's not your first time doing this. Request.
Cockpit, tow is driving up.
Thank you, my good sir. The lovely thing I like about Africa, so I've flown in Europe in the sim as well. I love flying in Norway. It's a beautiful country, beautiful area. The whole Scandinavian area is very beautiful. I love the flying there, and we'll definitely do some flying on the channel there in the future for sure. But some of the airports in Europe, they have very complicated and intricate departures and arrival procedures, which the nice thing about Africa, it's not the case. Most of the approaches and departures here, the standard arrivals and the standard departures are pretty straightforward. It's pretty easy, and we'll see that a lot on this series. So we're almost ready for the pushback. I didn't quite hear what he said there. I think we're still lifting up the plane, I think. Yeah. Can tell them to hurry up a little bit, come on. Oh no, that's the wrong one. Come on, guys. No, I'm just kidding. And I have my cup of tea here, so I'm all set for this flight.
So connected Bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake.
Thank you.
Starting pushback.
Oh, that's how it works. That's good to know. Interesting. That's quite cool. Alright, let's start with the starting of the engines. We'll start two, then one first. So for now, just put on the bleeds there, the APU bleed, and we put off the packs. And then let's start the engines. And we have N2 rotation. Try to zoom in there a little bit. We have oil pressure is rising. And we introduce fuel. Fuel flow rising and oil pressure is rising nicely. N2 is rising. EGT. And we have N1 as well. Hey! It's the ghost truck, man. Where's your driver? Some fancy technology they have here. And we have starter cutout. We just wait for the engine to stabilize. And we have 2, 4, 6,
Operation complete.
2.
Set parking brake.
Thank you.
Disconnecting tow. Stand by.
Sharp. Okay, so we put on the generator so long, we'll just close that so that we can start having air conditioning in the cabin. And then we will start the engine 1. Starting number 1. And we have N2. I think we have oil pressure rising, yes. It seems, no, not yet. Oil pressure is rising now. And we introduce fuel. Keeping an eye on that EGT and the N2.
Tow is disconnected and bypass pin has been removed. Hand signal will be on the left. We'll see you next time. Have a safe flight.
Thank you very much. And start to cut out. And that engine stabilized nicely. So let's put that on the generator, put the APU off, put the bleed off. We can put the packs to auto now, can put the hydraulics back on, put the probe heats on, sorry. I keep forgetting sometimes what this stuff is called, but I've been flying this plane for years now. Still one of my favorite airplanes. I know a lot of people in recent years have kept a grudge against Boeing and the 737 in general, but to me it's a lovely airplane. I love flying this thing, man. Just have another sip of my tea, and then we will start with the before taxi procedures. Put the flaps to 5, that to go to engines are to continuous. We check that the overhead panel is fine, do our flows quickly, and everything seems to be in order, but we will correspond that with checklists in a second. Go to system, let's check our flight controls. Full right, full left, full forward, full aft, full right, full left. Speed brakes always in the way there, but full right, full left. And we know the speed brakes work at the same time. Go back. Alrighty, let's start with the before taxi checklist. Alright, generators are on, probe heats on, anti-ice is not required, isolation valve is in auto position, engine start switches are continuous, recall is checked, auto brake is RTO, flaps 5, green light, engine start levers are at the idle detent, rudder and aileron trim is free and 0, flight controls are checked, and ground equipment is clear. Alright, well, with that done, we can start our taxi. So let's start our taxi. Let's put the taxi light on, and the flaps are moving for some reason. Let's get a move on. So like we said, we'll be taxiing down here via Lima, and then we will turn left onto Alpha, and then we go all the way down to runway 21 right at holding point Quebec. It's a bit of a long taxi that we have today. Oh, pay attention, Dylan. Okay, so here we're coming up on Alpha. Gonna reduce my speed a little bit so I don't go over here and flip the plane over. It's a massive airport, this actually. It's really a big airport. Just for interest's sake, I want to see. Ah, yeah, there's the FlySafe air hangars. I just got this scenery, or no, rather, I come from a long line of FSX pilots, so this X-plane is a really good treat. You know, for years I've been flying FSX and prepared 3D sometimes, and it just doesn't match this. Although the scenery looks like it's ported over from FSX, not gonna lie, texturing is not that great, but the airport looks like it should look, and the taxiways and runways are where it's supposed to be, and in my opinion that's good enough, eh? And it's freeware. The scenery is freeware now. It used to be payware. The scenery is made by NMG Simulations, and I'm by no means paid to say any of this. It's just my personal opinion. They do pretty good. They do a pretty decent job, you know, with the sceneries, and they specialize in scenery here in South Africa. But they have discontinued their X-Plane and the legacy sim lines for FSX and Prepare 3D. They are focusing now on Microsoft Flight Simulator. Um, Currently, I don't have Microsoft Flight Simulator, although in the future I hope to have it. But personally, I love X-Plane for its flight model and its realism. So for the time being, I will stick with good old X-Plane. But if you'd like, you can, if you fly X-Plane or FSX, you can go check NMG simulations out. The screenshots I've seen for Microsoft Flight Sim, it looks beautiful, looks great. But that is to be tested still. Something I did forget to set is the trim. The trim is 4.75, so I think, yeah, around about there should be fine. We'll just check that anyway with the before takeoff checklist. Now, there is something in the introduction video for the channel that I failed to mention, which is actually a pretty big one, and that's the fact that I have a partner in this on this channel. I do have a partner, just my lovely sister is my partner in the channel, helping me with research and some of the editing work, as well as deciding what to do on the channel. We are working together on this, so yeah, you can just imagine the disappointment she had when she saw the first video without me mentioning her. So I am making amends now, and I've mentioned. But yes, in future videos she will appear in future videos. For now she's a bit busy with life and stuff like that, so she doesn't have a lot of time to help out too much at the moment, but hopefully within the near future you guys see some videos with her in there, videos with her in as well. Also, she's still getting used to flying and flight simming as well. She's as the industry would say, a noob. Oh, that's my phone. Oh, we'll ignore that. Just gonna put my phone on silent, eh? Would have been a smart idea about, I think, half an hour ago. Now we're nearing the end of this long taxi for today. Almost at Quebec now. There's Quebec. I'm gonna start reducing my speed now, so we don't have to use that much brakes. I'm gonna arm the auto throttle for now. I'm gonna put the runway tunnels on because I forget. I'm a very forgetful person in nature, by nature. I can remember complex procedures and complex aircraft. I can remember how they work, how they function, how to fly them. But ask me to remember what I ate this morning, and I'm stumped. I don't know. I can't remember, hey? I have very poor short-term memory. Which makes family life interesting sometimes. And we are holding short. Let's put on the parking brake. Okay, parking brake is set. So let's do the before takeoff checklist. So cabin report I want still. I just want to raise. No, come on, no, other way.
Okay, the cabin is secured. Have a good flight.
Thank you. So the cabin is secure. I just want to put on all the lights and stuff that I need to do. I'm gonna ding the cabin, and everything seems to be sharp. Yeah, put on the transponder salon, because that's also something I usually freaking forget. Okay, so before takeoff checklist. Cabin report is received. Our flaps are 5 and we have the green light. Yes, stabilizer trim. We have 4.75 for the trim, and we have roughly that set now checked. So we have 4.75 units set. So we are ready for departure. So let's get a move on, guys. Start getting this plane to Cape Town now. Just going to give it a little bit of thrust to get us moving, and we put on the landing lights. And although there's no traffic, the arrival is clear and can't see the runway on that side. We'll check it now. The departure looks clear as well. Okay. The wind is coming a little bit from the right, so let's get this show on the road. Engine stabilized. Toga. Takeoff thrust set. Airspeed's alive.
Eighty
80 knots.
V1.
Rotate.
Rotate.
Pull back a little bit more. And we are off. Positive rate and gear up. Start pulling back a little bit more. And we are up.
400.
Checked. Select LNAV. And there we have the reduction.
1,000 to go.
Checked. I think I'm going to just set that up all the way, or not all the way, but just enough so that I can look back here. Still speeding up. Can go to flaps 1 now. Flaps 1. And we have flaps up. VNAV select now somewhat. There we have VNAV selected. VNAV speed is active now. LNAV. Now transition altitude. I like hand flying a little bit, so I think we'll fly up to 10,000, hand flying it, and then I'll put on the autopilot. Slow the nose a little bit just to speed up. And we'll let the nose gently rise again. Let's control it, trim a bit. During the ascent, I like to fly it manually because it's, for me personally, easier to control the pitch of the plane for the speed, so we can stay under the required 250 knots below 10,000. And we have reached 10,000, so I'm going to select Command A and let the autopilot fly above 10,000 so lights can come off. We do the after takeoff procedure. Auto brakes are at off, and the gear lever is to off. And then we call for the after departure checklist, after takeoff checklist. Altimeters standard. Engine bleeds are on. Packs are auto. Landing gear is up and off, and flaps are up, no lights, as we can see there in the center. Now we just select flight level 300 on the MCP, and the aircraft will start climbing to that altitude. Let's just align our heading bunk. If we look at the departure, we are tracking on a heading, or trying to track 291. So I'm just gonna select 291 until we are established on this track, and then I'll just align it up with the heading of the aircraft as I usually do. So like I said in the introduction video, if you haven't checked that, please go check it out. That we will be flying, or I'm going to try to fly most of the aircraft that I do fly to the most realistic way possible. But the in-flight simulation, there are a few limitations on this topic. So we will try to fly it at the best of in the best way possible, in the best and realistic way possible. But like I said in that video, mistakes will be made, and sometimes I'll get something wrong and sometimes I get something right. But I am a flight sim enthusiast and a flight enthusiast in general, so if you guys see a mistake or see something that I'm doing wrong, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to learn more, and I love to share learning that with everyone. So if you can teach me something or tell me something that I didn't know, that would be greatly appreciated. It's fun to learn about these type of stuff. I love learning about aviation and the world within aviation. Climbing nicely to 14,000 now, almost 15,000. Lovely day today. We'll see how the weather looks in Cape Town, because according to the weather reports, it doesn't look too fantastic, but we'll see when we get there. But if the weather is too bad that we can't land, we do have an alternate. Our alternate for this flight is Uppington, which is located in the northern Cape of South Africa. Freaking hot part of the country there, Uppington. It's very hot there. And I don't know about you guys, but personally, I prefer the cold. I love winter. I always say that you can always put more clothes on during the winter when you're cold, but you can't take off more clothes during the summer when you're too hot. So, in my opinion, winter. I love winter. So we're going now to the last point for the the SID, which is Ragul. Yeah, and we are climbing nicely. We'll put that to 80. Yeah, with this climb rate, we'll reach our top of descent in no time. Climbing through flight level 210 now. On speed, we're doing great. Turning now to the first waypoint of the route, which is Uteba. Just press the recall and just check that everything is still fine. I like pressing the recall every now and then just to make sure everything is still functioning properly as it should. Let's see if we did all the checklists. Yes, we did. Next checklist is the descent checklist. Well, that's not for another while. And we can close this now. We are done with OR Tambo, and we will select the next airport, our destination. So long we can just familiarize ourselves with the airport and the charts. Select the airport chart. We select the arrival, sorry, which is the Ardas 1 Bravo. Yes. For the approach, I can't remember what runway I selected for the approach into Cape Town, runway 19. So I think we will have to choose between these two, which are actually the same approach. It's just one is Cat 1 and the other one is Cat 2. Both of them are Zulu. So we'll just select Zulu, and if the minimums don't or the weather doesn't clear up, we'll use Cat 2 just for in case with its other lower minimums. Actually, as we're talking, let's have a look at the airport weather now. The weather in Cape Town it's quite constant usually, but when it wants to turn, it turns. You will know it turns. And the wind in Cape Town is notoriously strong and bad. So it hasn't changed much. It hasn't changed at all, basically. Only the QNH just changed. It hasn't changed too much, so I'm still expecting the same type of weather that we discussed earlier. That is great. It's good. Now, it's quite a bummer that the weather in Cape Town is so bad today. We are using real life weather, so the weather I'm flying with now is as it is in real life at the moment, or once again to the best of its ability. It's quite a shame though, because Cape Town is really one of my favorite airports to fly to. It has lovely approaches, lovely stars to fly, lovely cities to fly, and very nice scenery. But when we're at cruise, we'll discuss a little bit about it, and then I will take you over to the history segment where we'll learn a little bit more about the airport and the surrounding area of Cape Town. It's really interesting environment. It merits its own video all on its own. 1,000 to go, checked. It merits a video all on its own. That's how there's just too much. You know, during the research for this video, there's so much information about Cape Town, and which I would love to share with you guys, but it's just the video is going to be 4 or 5 hours long then. It really merits its own video all on its own. Cape Town, very interesting landscape, interesting history, rich history, and a wide variety of fauna and flora. But for now, let's focus on the flight. We will learn all about this in a couple of minutes. Now, if there's aircraft you guys like to see on the channel, aircraft that I can buy or get for the channel to use on the channel in videos, please put it down in the comments if you'd like to see a specific aircraft or want to see me being tortured in learning a new aircraft. Please put it down in the comments that we can start maybe working on that. I don't want to fly the 737 for this entire series. I have a few aircraft lined up already, but I'm not going to spoil it right now what type of aircraft that I have planned for the future. But if you guys have any recommendations on aircraft, please let me know in the comments. And if you have any other suggestions, like I said, I'm still learning and this is a big learning curve for me. Any advice you guys have, pointers that you can give me, it would be much appreciated. And now we're at our cruise level. Lovely. We have a bit of a headwind again, 99 knots. Jeez, it's a strong headwind, man. Yo. Okay, but we can release the passengers. I'm gonna set it to auto. And the flight attendant somewhere along gonna come and ask me if they can start service anyway, but as we all know, she will never receive an answer. The passengers would go nuts without their nuts today. So, according to the FMC, we will reach our top of descent in 521 nautical miles, which is still a little bit inaccurate because we haven't programmed the approach in the arrival and the approach in yet. So that will change later on when we start planning for the arrival. But according to that, 590 nautical miles and 10:06 Zulu time. So within about an hour and 10 minutes we will start descending. But for now everything is looking a-okay. Now the point Uteba we just passed actually. I think let's just do a fuel check. We're a bit past it now anyway, but let's do it anyway. So for Uteba, where are you? So at Zibo we had 8.5 tons. We're at 8.5 tons now and we're past it, so yeah, we're still on track with the fuel. I'm happy. We don't have problems with the pressurization, not that I can see. Yeah, pressurization looks fine. Let's swap over to that generator. Everything still looks handy dandy. Can leave that tune for now. Now South Africa is a very interesting country to fly in. Not a lot of airports, not a lot of routes. It's a lot of the same stuff over and over again. But it's a vast country. It has sparse populations here and there, and then vast areas of absolutely nothing for hundreds of miles, nothing, or hundreds of kilometers rather, I should say. Nothing in sight for hundreds and hundreds of kilometers, and then this densely packed areas of civilization. Actually, see which areas are we flying over now? And I am stupid. I am closing the stuff now for some reason. So which ones did I not close now? Okay, I didn't close the approach or the arrival. We select Zulu again. Then we go back, not closing it. Let's see on the map where we are in the world. World. Swartfontein. Place has interesting names as well. If any of you know the history of South Africa, the original Boers or Boere that migrated here from Cape Town to Bloemfontein and the Pretoria and Joburg area uh, loved using the names of the places that they came by, named it in such a way to identify water sources or not. So you'd see a lot of Swartfontein, which literally, if I translate that Afrikaans word into English, it means black fountain. It's directly translated from Afrikaans to English. It's to identify that there's a water source there, which is very smart um, in hindsight. But now we have millions of places, or rather thousands of places, with fontaine at the end. So literally, we flew 10 nautical miles, and here's another place, bulk fontaine. Now, I don't know what's the direct translation of the word bulk, or probably beam. I think it's beam fontaine then, like I-beam fountain. Interesting names. There's actually a very interesting place in the Northern Cape that has a very long and unusual name. It's the place's name, I think it's called Twee Buffels met een skoot mors dood geskiet. Now that's a very long name in Afrikaans, but roughly translated to English, it's the whole name is two buffaloes with shot dead with one shot. Two buffaloes shot dead with one shot. That's the name. And then fountain at the end, obviously. Ai, Afrikaners. Gonna see coming up on the Bloemhof Dam at the moment. There in the distance you can see the Bloemhof Dam. I'm very happy I switched over to X-Plane. I flew FSX for years and years in the past, and actually you guys will see some FSX still in this on the channel. I feel FSX is it's not a great sim if it comes to physics wise, and obviously scenery and graphics, and the texturings are very bad. With the likes of X-Plane and Microsoft Flight Simulator, it just doesn't compare with physics. Everything, it just doesn't compare. But I feel like FSX is still a great learning tool, especially if you're new to aviation and flight simming. It's a great tool to learn how to fly an aircraft, how it works. Although it doesn't work if you swap over from FSX and go to X-Plane, it's a for a while it's a learning curve, getting used to how the aircraft handles, or how different aircraft handles, because X-Plane has a much more realistic flight model. But it gives you the ability to learn how an aircraft reacts. Although the aircraft doesn't react completely as it should in FSX, it does react kind of as it should. So if you accelerate, if you accelerate or you put more thrust, the aircraft knows when to go up. If you reduce thrust, the aircraft knows when to go down, and you have to learn how to compensate for that. So as a starter sim, FSX is great. I think FSX is a great starter sim, especially if you're a noob, as they would say. But if you want to learn, or you want to get into the more specifics of how an aircraft flies and why it does what it does, X-Plane is, in my opinion, the best sim to do so. And I've spoken to a lot of flight instructors and my own flight instructor. Um, all of them say X-Plane is the way to go. Not for the scenery. Compared to the scenery in Microsoft Flight Sim, it's still not that great, but it's not bad. But the real sense why most people fly, I think, and why most people use X-Plane is for its realism. It is a very realistic sim, in my opinion, and actually in a lot of people's opinions. But whatever you use, it's a not flight simming is flight simming, and it all stays all the same, I guess. And what's this fontaine now? Bolt fontaine. Bolt fontaine. Now I need to translate that. What's a bolt in English? Let's see what Google has to say about that. Bolt fontaine. Bolt in English, yeah. A hump. So there's hump fountain, guys. Hump fountain. Gosh. I'd like actually to find that place called Twee Buffels met een skootmors dood geskiet. I think it's in the Northern Cape somewhere. It should be in the Northern Cape. Not entirely sure. I think I'll put it in post-editing. Just the location. There is it. You can go check it out for yourself if you don't believe me. But I'm honestly, it's true. There is a place with that name in South Africa. It quite reminds me of that other. Where is that other name? I think it's in Europe somewhere. That long, ungodly name to pronounce. I've seen YouTube videos of it online, of people trying to pronounce that name, and it's, they're butchering that name. But anyway, I think I'd butcher it even more. I'd probably kill the name if I had to pronounce it. Good old tea. Really lovely day for flying. We'll see. Like I said, the weather in Cape Town might be a bit, but we'll see when we get there. I think now is a great time to hand you guys over to History Dylan, who will enlighten you a little bit about Cape Town Airport and the surrounding area of Cape Town. I'll see you guys right before, not entirely right before the top of the center. I want to discuss the approach with you guys, my first officers. So I'll see you guys in a little while. And welcome back, guys and gals, for the history segment on Cape Town International Airport. The airport was built in 1954 in Matroosfontein, Western Cape, only a year after FAOR Tambo, to replace the previous airport of Cape Town, Wingfield Aerodrome. The airport was previously known as D.F. Malan Airport, named after the then President of South Africa, Daniel Francois Malan. The airport's name change occurred during the early 1990s by the newly created Airports Company South Africa, or ACSA as it's known. Giving the airport its name it still bears today, Cape Town International Airport, with the ICAO designation of Foxtrot Alpha Charlie Tango. Currently, the name of the airport is being disputed by local political parties within South Africa. A few proposal names have been submitted to the government of South Africa for review, but as of the posting date of this video, no new name has been assigned. According to an article in the Cape Times, the name change has been, and I quote, quietly ditched. Although the name of the airport might be in dispute, the airport and surrounding area's rich history in South Africa is not. Cape Town is a popular tourist attraction locally and worldwide, with its absolute stunning landscape and abundance of fauna and flora in the local area, making it a favorite destination for pilots and tourists alike. But let's not forget its most known attraction, Table Mountain. Rising 1,084 meters at its highest point and forms part of the Table Mountain National Park. The mountain attracts 4.2 million people every year, participating in various activities from hiking to taking a ride on the cableway, as it's known locally, to the top of the mountain. The mountain was established as one of the world's 7 wonders in 2011 by the Seven Wonders Foundation. Although Cape Town has a variety of natural wonders and attractions, we cannot disregard the historical significance of Cape Town. Since its establishment in 1652 by the United East India Company, Cape Town, then known as Cape of Good Hope, served as a way station for ships traveling to and from Europe and the East, providing much needed supplies for those brave sailors of old. Today, Cape Town still serves as a crucial hub for trade for the country and the world. Although Cape Town no longer serves as the crucial resupply hub for ships as it once did, its long-standing legacy as a gateway to the world that helped shape the world we know today stands tall and proud, just as the mountain guarding it. Cape Town being one of the country's capital cities, it serves a vital role in the country's economy, with the airport playing an intricate part in this role, connecting the people of Cape Town with the rest of the country and the world. The airport has 2 runways, 0119 and 1634, with runway lengths of 3,201 meters and 1,701 meters respectively, with an altitude of 151 feet above mean sea level. The airport serves as a hub for 2 airlines, FlySafair and Airlink. Although a name change might be in the airport's future, we might also see a second runway to be constructed to accommodate rising passenger and cargo demands. This plan was proposed by AXA in the early 2010s and was set to start in 2020, to be completed by 2023. There was just one slight problem with that.
The National Coronavirus Command Council has decided to enforce a nationwide lockdown for 21 days with effect from midnight on Thursday, the 26th of March.
With the reveal of COVID-19 and lockdown protocols in 2020, all efforts of the runway expansion was put on hold. It is uncertain when or if this project will continue in the future. Nonetheless, the airport stands proud, surrounded by the abundance of beauty and history Cape Town has to offer. And welcome back to the flight there, guys. Now, I was big stupid now. I had a very enlightening conversation with myself for the past, 30 minutes, Well, I thought my mic was on, and I just came to realize it wasn't. So, great. Anyway, I. Now, well, let's discuss the approach. We are arriving now. Well, not arriving. We're about 80 miles, a little bit more than 80 miles, nautical miles away from our top of descent point now. So let's discuss our arrival quickly into Cape Town. So, we'll be flying the Airbus 1 Bravo arrival. As you can see, we are approaching pretty close now. There's Cape Town. So, we will quickly discuss our arrival into Cape Town. So, let's start with the route itself. We will be flying the Airbus 1 Bravo approach, or arrival, sorry, as you can see on this chart here. So, we'll just check in the FMC that everything is according to the plate. Go to the legs page. We see Airbus, set is here on the chart, max flight level 140, and we can see that set into the FMC. I had to manually change that, it wasn't set to that. But anyway, next point in our approach or on the chart is the distance 30 Charlie Tango Victor, which is the Cape Town VOR. So at CTV 30, we have a speed restriction of max 250 knots and below. So that is set in the FMC, as you guys can see over there. Go to the next page, and then we have Delta 065 Kilo, which is the next point on our arrival. And this is this point, distance 11 Charlie Tango Victor. And we see we have a speed restriction here of max 210 knots. And that is correct inside the FMC as well. Now, for the transition onto the ILS, I won't be flying any transitions. I'll show you in a minute how the transitions look for the for this arrival. But both of them are via the VOR itself. Now, I don't want to fly via the VOR. I'm going to try to do a little bit more of a straight-in approach. So we're going to follow the arrival as intended here. So after the last waypoint of the arrival, we turn north on a heading 010 to where we should get vectors. In real life, there will be vectors, or you'll get vectors from off this point onto the ILS localizer. But today we're not using any ATC or something like that, so we'll be just self-positioning ourselves onto the ILS from here, from this point on. So let's look at the transitions that I just spoke about. Now, this is the CTV1, the DME arc is the 13.9 DME arc is the CTV1 arrival approach, sorry, and then the second one is this procedural turn, which you can see here marked number 1 on the chart, is the procedural turn. So we're not going to fly any of those two. We're going to climb directly onto the final approach fix. Oh, sorry, the CI19 fix, initial approach fix. So we'll be climbing just straight in onto that, and then we'll fly the approach. As we can see, our ILS frequency is 109.1 Kilo Sierra India is the identifier, and we have 109.1 in both boxes, that side on the first officer side and the captain, and in the active boxes on both sides we have the VOR itself now, just as a reference for ourselves. When we start turning onto the ILS itself, I will do that manually with heading mode, and then we'll just swap over to the ILS frequency and capture the localizer from there. And that's the plan. Let's discuss the go around. The go around procedures for runway 19 is climb to 4,500 feet, track runway heading to distance 4.5 CTV, then turn left direct to VOR to enter the hold or as directed. Now, as we are not on any ATC network, we'll just go into the hold. If we have to go missed, we will go into the hold to replan our approach, and then we will just redo the approach manually. That's the plan for now. And the missed approach, I did program some of it in here for myself, just as for better situational awareness. So the 4.5 ring around CTV is there at the point at which we have to turn left direct back to the VOR, and I put in a distance ring of 10 nautical miles to give us a reference point on the approach to where more or less we will have to start descending. Descending, I mean preparing the aircraft for landing. As my brain is everywhere today. So that's it. Now, according to the chart, as we can see down here, we have a minimums of 200 feet radio. I set that in the primary flight display on the right hand corner, to the bottom. There is the radio minimums set. And the VREF, let's talk about the landing data again. So we calculated, or I calculated before, while my mic was not running, our approach landing weight is estimated to be 63.7 tons. We will be using a flap setting of flaps 30, and for the runway, the actual distance, the distance available on the runway is 10,502 feet, or according to the chart, in meters is 3,201 meters landing distance available. So with our calculations, auto brake 2 should be sufficient, and that's what we have set on the auto brake. We have auto brake 2 and our minimums are set. The airport elevation, if you look at the chart here, is 151 feet, airport elevation. And if we check here on our pressurization panel, we have the land altitude at 150 feet, which should be fine. And we'll just have to see about that. During the descent, I'll just check the weather again for the airport. If something changed or changing, we can just fix it as we go. And we can already see that the fuel, the estimated fuel at Cape Town has already changed by 100 kilograms. It's 100 kilograms less than previously estimated. So we'll just check that. If it changes a lot more than that, we'll have to recalculate, but that's still within limits, I'd say, for this plane. So we also finished the forecast page on the descent. So I selected a transition level of flight level 110. It's usually a bit lower than that in real life, but just to help myself a little bit in not forgetting, I just set it to 11,000 feet, or flight level 110, which will then transition from the standard setting to the local QNH of 1025. Then we selected flight level 200, flight level 150, and 10,000 feet for our winds, our wind calculations, and they are set as you can see on the FMC now. Just go back to the cruise page, bring up the yoke so I can see what the autopilot is doing, and that is basically the approach summarized for you guys. Now we just need to execute it properly. Now I'm looking ahead now, and that's a lot of weather. Let's see if the weather radar works on this plane. I swear I have used it before, but it is unusable down here, as you can see. None of these switches work. If you guys know how to fix that, we have a functioning weather radar in the ZiboMod, that would be fantastic. If you guys can help me out with that. Yeah, we're not going to be able, I don't think we're going to be able to see the beautiful views Cape Town has to offer today, which is unfortunate. The approaches into Cape Town is beautiful, absolutely stunning, and I'll maybe link a video from Eclipse to this video that you guys can go and watch, from a Lufthansa crew flying from I think it was Frankfurt, I'm not sure, to Cape Town, and they got some nice shots of the approach. Very lovely approach, and as I understand, it's much loved by pilots and the tourists in the area alike, so it's a very beautiful area. Just want to see what is the approach altitude for the ILS so that I know to which altitude I must reset the MCP. As we don't have ATC, we're not gonna be asked to descend to a specific flight level beforehand or something, so we just fly the programmed FMC route, the VNAV path that it calculates for us, to 3,000 feet. So that's the plan. So when we get, you see the top of the descent is creeping closer and closer now. And I think when we get to this waypoint just at top of the descent, we'll just make sure that our fuel schedule is still fine. Now, something I mentioned during the time my lovely mic was not on is that if you guys like to see different aircraft on the channel, or would like to see an aircraft in the future to be showcased basically, please let me know in the comments down below. I am through and through a proper Boeing fan, and I love flying the 737 and the 777 as well. Unfortunately, there's not a nice 777 for X-Plane, so every time at the moment I fly the 777, it's in FSX, unfortunately, with the old PMDG, which is still a nice plane to fly every now and then. But I mean, X-Plane has just spoiled me so much in the last couple of months that it's difficult to go back to FSX knowing how good it can be. I guess a lot of you can understand that, who has gone through the same process of switching over to X-Plane or even Microsoft Flight Sim. Speaking about Microsoft Flight Sim, I'd really love to test out the new 737 of PMDG as well. That would be nice. Hopefully in the future we will be able to do that. It looks very nice. I've seen a bunch of comparison videos between the ZiboMod and the PMDG 737, and the reviews are kind of mixed. You know, a lot of the pilots, the real pilots like Flight Deck to Sim that I enjoy to watch, prefer, actually, if I understand it correctly, they actually prefer the ZiboMod more for its flight accuracy, if that makes sense. As I understand it, the systems in the ZiboMod and in the PMDG are more or less almost not the same, but they are simulated fairly accurately in both sims, or in both add-ons, I should say. I'm just going to reset the MCP altitude now. Sorry. And we'll ding the cabin so they know that they have to sit down. I'll put the seatbelt sign back on. I like putting the seatbelt sign back on at top of the descent completely, removing it from the auto position to the on position. I actually never put the seatbelt signs to the off position during a flight. It's always either auto or on, not off. Off on the ground, yes, not there. Doesn't seem like this weather radar is doing anything actually. But yes, there will be some Airbus coming up as well. Don't worry, I'm not that type of flight simmer that only flies Boeing or only flies Airbus. I like learning a lot of aircraft. It's interesting to see how different companies' philosophies gets implemented into their aircraft. It's very different. Like for instance, in this aircraft, you learn the autopilot, and you let the autopilot learn you how to fly the aircraft. That's quite different from how Airbus does things. But this type of niches and interesting stuff about how the different airlines approach different problems, it's very interesting to see how it gets implemented. So no, we will be flying Airbus for sure, and I have a Airbus video scheduled within the next 2 months or so. Hopefully, it all depends on how my personal schedule goes, which sometimes can be a bit of a headache. We're having a little bit of a frame drop at the moment. Thanks, clouds. It's lovely clouds though. So some of you might wonder why I haven't switched over to X-Plane 12. This is X-Plane 11. Now the reason for this was there's still a lot of issues with X-Plane 12. Not that much anymore than what it had, but I thought it would be better to start with X-Plane 11 and then over a period of time I would start switching over to X-Plane 12, or maybe using a mix X-Plane 11 and 12 for my videos. So that's the plan at the moment, but that was the only reason. It was just too much bugs and problems with X-Plane 12, and they were starting without a cent. And I was just not in the mood for that, to be able to struggle with a new sim that's not working properly. So I decided to stick with X-Plane 11 for the time being. And it's still a wonderful sim. I still love flying the simulator. It's very nice. Just bring my throttles back. There we go. I'm gonna need to put the engine anti-ice on for this one, I think. When we get closer to the clouds. This layer right at our 12 o'clock, 11 o'clock-ish. It's worrying me a little bit, but we'll get in. It's actually been a long time since I've flown to Cape Town with the weather looking like this. It looks fairly ominous. And we're still on path, a little bit slow. That's alright. We're going to FMC speed, so the aircraft is compensating. Just align our heading bug again. You know what would be nice? Some dual cockpit stuff with this actual first officer helping you to fly. That would be great, man. Be very great. Having someone to talk to and help you during a flight. Especially the long ones, yeah. Sometimes a long haul flight can be fairly boring in a sim. Nothing a good movie can't cure, though. We're not flying real passengers or real aircraft around. So, although I do like to enforce the sterile cockpit rule, I won't be enforcing it all the way through. The point of the channel is to have fun. I mean, can let people in. Why not? Let's just check. I forgot to check the fuel actually now, as we said earlier. So let's try CSV. Yes. And I feel that CSV should be 4.9. So we're 3.4 nautical miles away from CSV, or Charlie Sierra Victor. And you can see we used, what did it say? 4.9. So we used 500 kilograms more fuel than expected. But that was the headwind. I'm pretty sure that was the headwind. But we're still within the limits, so we are fine. Our block fuel or the fuel required for to get to our alternate is 3.8. Reloading. There you could slightly see the scenery. Slightly. It's teasing us a little bit. Don't be like that, Sim. Yeah, the headwind is slowing us down a lot during this descent. Or I should say it's buying up my fuel. My fuel usage. Just want to make sure, yeah, CTV is recognized there. Just want to put that one up, that it's on that side as well. Let's check the weather. We're approaching 17,000 now. Let's check the weather again for Cape Town. Just make sure everything is still fine. Afterwards, just need to check the fuel. We're still going to be at the right landing speeds. And the message has come through. Okay, we still have 1025. Yes. Overcast is still there. The visibility has improved though. That's quite nice. Winds are still pretty calm. Don't see any reports of precipitation anymore. No, I don't. So hopefully that stays that way. Yeah. Okay, let's go to the progress page and let's check our fuel again. We're still at 4 estimated for fact, so that's alright. We'll just leave it be for now. Just monitor it during the descent just to make sure that we're still in the clear. We're approaching up on these clouds now, so I'm going to start put the engine ignitions to continuous, and I'm going to put the engine anti-ice on just for in case. The weather of Cape Town is, in South Africa, it doesn't rain during the winter. It only rains during the summer. It doesn't rain during the winter. Now, it's winter for us here in the southern hemisphere at the moment, but it's raining here in Cape Town. It's because Cape Town is special. Its weather systems are mostly generated with the weather systems in the South Atlantic. So it's hot air mixing with the cold air from the Agulhas, from the South Pole. So that's how Cape Town's weather is created, and in fact it rains even more during the winter in Cape Town than it does in the summer. That's also a very interesting way how the weather systems in South Africa works in the southern hemisphere, with the Indian Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean's air masses mixing together over the continent, as well as just below it on the southern points. But this is what creates all this interesting weather systems here in the Cape of Good Hope, as it was always known. It creates some interesting environments sometimes. So we're actually not flying through the cloud as I expected now, so just put off the anti-ice for now. Let's keep the engine ignitions on continuous for now. Still looking good. Approaching CTV 30, where we should be starting to start slowing down to 250 knots, which the aircraft is starting to do now. No speed brakes yet. It's coming down nicely. Should use the range. There we go. I love that sound. The trim wheel. Gotta get my seating position fixed again. this weather radar is useless. And we passed our transition level. We set standard, I mean the QNH, which is 1025. I wonder why the airports weather reports differs. Just gonna check the weather again. I'd rather check the weather more than once, 3, 4, 5 times, than just check it once and it changes 3, 4, 5 times while you didn't check. That has happened to me before on many occasions, and it is quite embarrassing towards yourself. I think more than it is anything else. Rookie mistake. One of many that will still happen on this channel. Doesn't seem like anything has changed though, so that's good. Just keep it on the legs page there. Just keep flying. Going through the almost, yeah. Can turn it on now. I think now we will go through it now. Let's go through this layer. And we are below 10,000, so I'm going to put on the landing lights on, or well, the fixed ones at least, and the runway turnoffs. And I'm going to put off the wing light for the ZiboMod for the cabin. Now, one thing I did forget to do now is the descent checklist. So pressurization, land altitude was set, recall. We checked auto brake 2, landing data, VREF. We had a VREF of 146 giving us approach speed 151 and the minimums of 200 feet set into the primary flight display. That is correct. I'll go back to the descent page, sorry. And the approach briefing is completed. Now for the approach checklist, because we are done the one item on it already, is altimeters, and the altimeters are set 1025. We are ready. Let's shortly start the right hand turn for basically the downwind leg for our approach. Reduce the range a little bit again. Doing good so far. And we'll bring in the speed brakes, drag required. Yes, I know. I know. Oh, just flying through these clouds is so nice. Yeah, you stow the speed brakes again. Please go to FMC speed. And thank you. Now we'll just fly. There's heading for the moment 010 according to the chart on this track. Just put it there for now, and then we will vector ourselves onto the localizer for the approach. And I think actually, before I forget, like in the first video, to tune the ILS. I think it's it's more or less bugged up. Say heading select active, and FMC speed, and that's all handy dandy. Now according to this approach, or according to the VNAV profile, we're a bit low, a lot low actually, but that's fine. I'm just going to, as soon as we are almost adjacent to the CI19 waypoint, I will route direct into the FMC so it can recalculate this, and it should be fine. Just want to check can go over to the ILS chart now. No, it's fine. Keep descending. I'm gonna put the terrain on just to inform myself of the situation. We should be fine. It's very flat. We're already over the mountain terrains to our right. There's a lot of it's behind the clouds now, but there's a huge mountain range to the right of us, which is now to the west. To the east, sorry. Well, we're over those mountains, so the only obstacle we really have left is a small hill in front of the approach, which I think you can see. Yeah, this one. They're just in the hill right in the middle of the DME arc triangle thing. Sorry. That's the only real obstacle we have left. So let's start turning in for the approach, and I am going to select that CI19 waypoint direct. Just check that. Still says we're a bit low, but it's fine. Our minimums for this approach from the side we are coming is 4,100. We're below that, but we're fine, I think. Another cough coming up. Sorry. Damn, I hate being sick, guys. This stuff sucks. Okay, work with us. There we go. So I'm gonna select LNAV again, just to help us onto the route. I'll stay at 210 knots for now. I'll intervene momentarily. Airport's not just behind this hill. This hill to our 10 o'clock. And there is the Table Mountain to our 12 o'clock, actually. I thought we won't be able to see it, but here we are seeing it now. We're leveling off at 3,000 feet, which is the approach altitude for the ILS. And let's select flaps 1 for now. It didn't select. There we go. Flaps 1. And I'm going to select speed intervent now. Gonna go to 200. Sorry. And let's select the approach mode. We have the KSI 191. Nothing is inactive there. Both sides are correct. And there we have it. Single channel VOR localizer is captured. Glide slope is still armed. We haven't captured the glide slope yet. So we're going to reduce. I'm going to reduce speed to 190 knots now. As soon as the aircraft dips below 200 knots, which it just did, I'm going to select flaps 5. And flaps 5. It's not selected. How about now? And it is selected now. Glide slope still not completely there yet. So let's assume we've received our landing clearance. Everything up there should be fine. Just gonna align my thrust levers on my yoke. I mean my throttle quadrant. Okay, let's reduce speed 180 knots. I will remain there for the next few seconds. And the glide slope should be coming in right about now, actually. Almost. Still can't see the runway. And glide slope is captured. Great. So we'll reduce speed even more. I like to do this incrementally. So go to flaps 10. Checked. And the glide slope is captured. So we set our missed approach altitude of 4,500. That is set. Let's align our heading bar quickly. Forgot to do that. And we have the airport in sight. Let's reduce to flaps 15 speed. And we go gear down, flaps 15. And then we start reducing our speed to our approach speed of 151 as we selected or planned. Fuel level is 200 below, it's okay. We will still make it. And now we select flaps 30. Flaps 30 selected. And set. Let's do the landing checklist. Camera reports received. Engine start switches are continuous. Speed brakes are armed. Landing gear is down 3 green. And our flaps are 30 green light. So now it's just the landing, guys. And my controls, my throttle, it's becoming a raw data approach now. Can't see the runway anymore. Can start seeing the approach lights now. Checked. No, the 1,000 feet thing. Bit high. Let's get it. Speed's a bit low. On the sensor line. Increase the thrust a little bit again, dipping below the glide slope again. Just keep that nose down. You can feel the wind's coming a little bit from the right. It's not showing on the ND, but I can feel it a little bit. It's a little bit unstable, but it's okay. Continue. And we'll just watch the poppies now. Checked.
50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
And we are on the runway. Floated a little bit there, but that's alright.
80 knots.
Checked. Cancel reverse. Manual braking. See if we can make this turn. Nope. Let's go to the end. Let's not slow down too much on the runway. Let's put the terrain off. And actually put the... Nah. We're still on the runway, so technically we can't put it off yet. We're taxiing now to the very end of runway 19. Which you'll see here. That one. Down here. We'll turn right onto the taxiway. Alpha, I think it's Alpha. It's Bravo 3. Get off at Bravo 3. And then we'll just start taxiing to the gate. And we project the flaps, and we put our stabilizer trim back to 5 units. And that's it, guys. We made it to Cape Town International Airport. Hope you guys liked the history segment on this airport. Very interesting area, and yeah, like I said, this area merits its own video all on its own. There's just too much info for this one airport to be able to cover it in one history lesson. Let's deselect the flight directors. Reset the MCP to where everything should be. Come on. Stay on the center line. Misty weather today here. Foggy. And we can start the APU now. 1, 2, 3, shop. Everything else seems to be fine. Just gonna set this thing over to the APU gen so you can see what that's doing. It is starting, it's almost, yeah, there it's going. So we're just gonna choose one of these stands here right in front. If I remember correctly, I think this is also Charlie. Or it's the Bravo. No, it is the Charlie apron. So we'll be stopping here at one of these remote stands on the Charlie apron. So we can see our little Minecraft people deboarding. taxi light off. Nah, not Charlie 5. We just came from Charlie 5. Let's pick Charlie 2 to the left here. This one. Let's reduce our speed just a little tad. So we'll be turning in here. Speed. Power. And there we are, guys. Let's put the parking brake on, and I'm pretty sure 3 minutes have passed. We just switch over to the APU, and we have 2 blues, 1 red. Engine 2 off, engine 1 cut off, and I'm just gonna open this. That comes off, that comes off. Okay. Wait for 24 and 24. We can put the anti-collision line off. Go to the menu page. Alrighty, I'm gonna swap that over for the next flights along, and that's it, guys. We have arrived. Let's get the passengers to deboard. Open the left door, put the chocks in, connect the GPU to save our APU a little bit, connect the ASU unit, and we'll hear the air conditioning starting up again. Yes, indeed. The air stairs have been deployed, I think. It seems that way. Aft service, a forward cargo, and then we can pull up this little, I call it the Minecraft generator. So we put in some people. No, not that stairs we have using. The only thing I don't like about this mod is if we go outside, is if I bring in the bus now, oh well, there's the cleaning van and the catering. We can leave the catering for now, but if I bring in the bus and the people start deboarding the plane, it only uses the mod stairs. It doesn't use the air stairs like built in with the ZiboMod. It only uses that stairs at the back, which is kind of sad, but it is what it is. Can always just, you know, take the air stairs back in, or retract the air stairs and just put a normal stair there, which probably I should do, but nah, they can all climb out from the back today. Get some exercise. You just put the passengers, oh no, now it's boarding, it must be deboarding. There we go. Now we'll start seeing our Minecraft people. And just shimmying forward as well, not even walking properly. Oh well, there you have it, guys. We've arrived here at Cape Town International Airport in the Western Cape of South Africa. Hope you enjoy the flight, hope you enjoyed the video. If you guys have any suggestions for future videos or any suggestions in general, please let me know down in the comments. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. It's been fun, and I'll hope to see you guys in the next one. Cheers.